can catch it back. YouTube. She's going on YouTube.
This is my pom-pom.
Back. YouTube. Oopsie. She's going on YouTube. Hang on, sorry. God, everything's gone. It's gone.
This is my pom-pom.
Okay.
You get it?
I literally thought she said it again and then
So
realized
did I.
Oh,
Oh, man.
You know, when I switch from over here to type, and sometimes it goes, wee, gone. And I go, don't panic. My daughter has taught me not to panic in those situations. Mom, just go to the top. Mom, just pull it down. Mom, bring your cursor all the way to mom. Mom, stop just a second. Just go to the top and pull it down.
Well, at least she isn't saying nanny.
I haven't said much at all, yeah.
Oh, but I've said all the things that you could say.
Oh,
Oh, I love
Yeah.
you guys. What a great way to start my week with the best women on the planet. Best women on the planet. So, week 3 already. This is going fast. Of our Enneagram study. Oh, let's thank you, Ashley, for the lead. Let's put our number in our chat name.
Yeah.
Rename your chat. And I know we're still learning wings. So if you don't know,
Can you make me co-host, Mom?
yeah, my screen is autofilling that I'm Lisa Madsen now.
Nice.
Enthusiast. Okay. Co-host for her. And then, since not everybody saw this when I first logged on, this is what's happening across the room right now. Just that.
love it.
This little quietness happening. Yeah. Soothing my heart. Now all the eyes are closed. Fascinating. Okay. So tell me, what was our assignment? And what have you discovered? What have you noticed? What have you found out about somebody else? Did a situation come up where you were like, oh my gosh, that's why I acted like that, or that's why they acted like that, or oh, now I understand why I did that. So let's be conversational today. Okay. And I can see everybody. So raise your hand on whoever wants to go first when you go. And I'm going to take some better notes today because I can.
Yeah, we had just written looking specifically at the transformation points, which is at the end of each of your chapters.
Yep.
So, Nan, you're on page 109. And then, yeah, knowing yourself better and maybe a specific lesson learned. So, specifically the transformation points and how they can help you to be more self-aware. And Dory did have her hand up.
Yes, I did. Well, I do see how I react in certain situations. I know why I do, and now I'm trying to figure out how to control that a whole lot better. You know, because burnt pancakes yesterday was really an issue. Anyway, that was grounds for divorce almost. So we're trying to eliminate those gnashing of teeth and overwhelming comments, and just not react so harshly to every little single thing. I have found myself to be, I have a wing of 2, which is helper. But then my cross arrow pointing thing goes to romantic, which is number 4, which is creative. And yes, I am. So I like seeing a lot of the things that I'm next to and what I'm doing. I don't know that I'm particularly a great peacemaker. I'm not really. Not really. So I just find it interesting that everything that I see that's connected to me that is obvious is easier now to deal with than before. And it's just a matter of putting my mind to, okay, that's why you did this, so now stop. And or rechannel or go to the other guy that's happier, something, you know. Anyway, that's and now that I'm really old and I'm finding out all this stuff, it's like, well, what was it 60 years ago when I could have used it?
Relate to that.
Hindsight, always hindsight. Yeah.
Except for the pancake issue, that was terrible.
I was there for the pancake issue. It was not that bad. I even joked about it, brought some levity, made everybody laugh. Yeah, it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. Mom, what I admire about you is that you just had another birthday, getting you closer to the end as opposed to the beginning, because I've already like publicly said, you know, I'm in the last third of my life, right? I'm in the last third. So my eyes are open to all kinds of stuff. And Mom's like, yeah, I'm going, but watch me go, man. Watch me go while I'm here. And so what I admire is that, you know, at 78 years old, you're 3/4 of a century old, young, and 78 years young, and still willing to learn new things and explore. And how can I, you know, be my best self? Literally, like, how can I be my best in these situations? That's very admirable. You're welcome.
One of the themes I think that you're kind of like talking about too, Nan, which I believe could probably apply to all of the types, is respond, don't react. So instead of our reaction is probably maybe the unhealthy version of our number, where our response can be the healthy version. So it's not that we don't feel these things and recognize these things, it's just that we take a moment to respond first. Yeah.
Yeah.
She just
Yeah.
reminded me of something.
Always easier said than done, but taking a breath. Just take a breath.
Always something to reach for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Who else? Donnie.
See you guys. Okay,
go.
I take off my glasses so I can see you guys. All right, so I don't have my book with me because I realized that I left it in the car, which is with Joel, because I had my mom take the test. And I had one other friend take the test, and interestingly enough, they're both 9s, but very, like, they both have very low 3s, but then their other ones are all different. And it's very interesting to be around somebody that I've known all of my life and somebody else that I've known for over 20 years and hear them say that they don't feel comfortable around other people, to feel weird, that they feel different. And it's a little heartbreaking to hear that about them, because that was one of the questions, you know, like they continuously scored low on, was the, how do I feel? Do I feel like I fit into other groups? Am I an important person in my groups? My groups wouldn't last without me. Like, to hear them score themselves so low on them. And I just kept going. I was trying not to single out any of their answers.
Yeah.
but it was very interesting. Like I still don't quite like I since then, I've tried to encourage them a little bit more or tell them how much I appreciate them. Um, but it's definitely interesting to see a group that is so different than what the enthusiast is.
Oh yeah.
Um,
She's
yeah,
talking about the Peacemaker,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
which is starts on 63 if you do a quick little scan.
yeah.
Um, you know, thank you for that. And um, just like one of the things you said, number 10, others see me as more peaceful than I really am. I often choose the path of least resistance. People seem to want me to be more decisive. I'm not a self-starter. I will do almost anything to avoid conflict. So a person can like see that and like get down on themselves instead of just this is how I am and this is how
Mhm.
I roll, right? And what I don't want, and your mom experienced this, Dawn. I don't want anyone to like assess themselves and then be like, wow, that one sucks. I wish I was a different one. Because that's not what this is about,
Right. And I
right?
did try to let them know
Yeah.
that there's no, it's not a bad thing is, you know, like because really if you think about it, there's some people who are not peacemakers to the point where they start things on purpose. And we can't survive people like that. Like
That's
yes,
the
there's
challenger.
yeah.
I
And
used to do that all the
yeah.
time.
And
Rhonda and Mason Matt.
the thing
Yeah.
is with both of them, one with my friend Jen, who mom and Jen are very quiet, very giggly, very easygoing kind of women. But so Jen has worked at Marquette University for 15, 20 years. And apparently, a lot of the rules on things were not there before her. Like, she very much pushes the boundaries of going to school full time and working full time. And now they can only work X amount of hours and they can only do this. Um, so, and my mom, do not make my mother mad. If my mom will deal with it, deal with it, deal with it, deal with it, and then her being the only girl in an Italian family will come out. My mother could be a very scary person.
I don't
I
know
have
anything about
I
that.
don't ever remember my mother hitting me, but I remember the threats. And the threats were seriously all I needed. Okay. I'm sure she spanked me, but when that flip of the switch happens, you need to run. Like they're mm-mm,
Well,
mm-mm.
Dawn, that's not surprising because the 9 is actually in the anger and gut triad.
Yep.
So it will do that. And ones are similarly, well, it says 8 externalizes it, 9 forgets it, and 1 internalizes. So I think they forget it until they don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. It's cool to like hear the people around you and realize that there can be some serious opposites. And then probably is, right? Because opposites can
Yeah.
attract for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's the greatest thing is a lot of times there are
Yeah.
a mixture around me are a lot of all the different ones and we kind of all blend. Looking at my kids, there's 4 of them and they're all a little different, but we're all kind of the same, but we've all learned how to interact with one another. So it's like if you want to antagonize anybody, oh, we can do that in like a second.
Yeah.
So, and if
Well,
anybody wants to discuss anything, I'm here all day. I'll just keep going with you, So it's like, so it's great and fun to see the different things because now knowing it, I can pull out a little bit more, I can ask more direct questions, or I can shut my mouth and just
I
let
love that.
go.
Yeah.
So,
Well, have you ever noticed that movies that have groups, especially for heists or that have to pull off something major, they have completely different personality types and completely
Yeah.
different skills.
Yep.
I
Like
watch
one for
Ocean's
each.
11,
Yep.
you know, it's,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
all have their place in the group to do something major. And I think if we were an entire unit of enthusiasts, um, I think Lisa and I are enough in this group right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
think
love it.
people like Rhonda would like run away and hide. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And that's you're exactly right. Because when you surround yourself, and particularly in business, let's just talk about
Mhm.
business right now, right? If we
Yeah.
surround ourselves with the exact same, nothing will get done. If you're any, because if we're all sevens, we're all having fun, but we had fun planning the thing that we never actually then did because we just had so much fun planning it. We didn't actually nail down the location
Yeah.
or the time or the invites or whatever.
Yeah.
If we're all challengers like Rhonda, if there's 8 challengers, how is that getting anything done? Because they're all asking the questions, valid questions, but they don't necessarily all want to lead. They just don't want to be told what to do. Well, okay, you got 8 of those. How are you going to get it done? You've got 8 helpers. You're all going to help it, but no one's going to say, well, okay, then you do this thing and I'll do this thing and you do that thing and you do that thing. You're all just going to be like, oh, well, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. There's going to be 8 people going, well, I'll do it. Well, I'll do it. Well, I'll do it. You can do what? Which what? Which thing? Which thing? Okay. And then Ashley's going to think it to death, and all her friends are just going to think the 800 scenarios that are going to go wrong and all the possible outcomes, which also all the things that could go right, also. But they're going to come up with 800 scenarios. So it's not actually going to get booked because they'll have 16 plans, but we didn't get the date on the calendar exactly. What if that date's not available and we have to go to plan ABC 788?
Mhm.
The call has to end, the meeting's over, and now we don't have a plan either. And I have seen this in leadership, and I have seen it with sales directors that have surrounded themselves with people exactly like them.
Yeah.
And they're not here anymore.
Mhm.
They're not here anymore. They weren't willing to listen, and they weren't willing to surround themselves with people that are different. And the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn what you can and cannot do. You guys, there's a time and a place when I am literally wandering down the hall at seminar because I got lost, quite possibly. And there's also a time and a place when I am letting all of you lead me because I am busy chatting with who's ever standing right here next to me. And some one of you decided that I needed to be led. And you're like, this way, this way, this way, this way. I'm like, okay, well, I'm having this meaningful thing right here. And there's a difference. There's a difference. Okay. Sometimes I genuinely did go down the wrong hallway. Most of the time I know what's going on. Okay, to be clear. But also when I'm feeling safe, right? In my people with I know you're not going to let me go wandering wherever. I went down the wrong hallway in in Vegas in a mall. I went down the wrong hallway and I almost went out like an exit door that probably would have led me down, I don't know, into hell or something.
That sounds like the back rooms. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it
That's
was,
a thing.
it would have been an alley. It would have not have been a good situation. Okay. And Terry and Kelly and Kat, Lisa, don't get back here. You're going the wrong way. I'm like, huh? What? This isn't the door? Get back here. Oh, okay. So none of them are that. None of them are sevens. So it's
Mhm.
so then thinking about it in your personal life, who you're surrounding yourself with as well. So sometimes for fun, for dates, you're literally surrounding yourself with people just like you because it's comfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But even when I hang around a bunch of enthusiasts, I can only hang around Lindsay Lavelli and Nikki McDaniel for so long before I'm like, girl, just back up. Like one of us needs to come on, let's go this way. Like I literally have to say, come on, stop talking, let's go. Because they'll just be, and I'm like, how do you function? Come on.
Yeah. I know that they do.
Yes.
Love it.
And Catherine doesn't have time for that. She's just like, I'm walking away. She will literally just leave them and just walk away and go do her own thing. And I'm like, and I'm supposed to keep the band together. So now I took that on. Okay. So yeah, so time and a place. And I'm proud of the differences that we have. And I'm so excited, literally, you guys, that we have nearly, what was the only one we don't have is 4. What is that?
I think it was the only one we don't have is 5.
5, the
Or was
investigator.
it 9?
4 and 5.
4?
No, 9 is Peacemaker. We have
Oh.
all of them but 4 and 5.
I have
That
I
was
have a 5
investigator.
across the board thing. Arrow pointing to 4. I don't know what you call that.
4 is romantic.
We never will. Oops.
Okay,
No,
well,
Audrey's romantic, but she thought she was actually a helper. So we have no romantics, which maybe Mary Kay doesn't appeal to them. I don't know.
Mhm.
And no investigators. Quite frankly, I don't want them. It's fine.
That's what we married.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
want to. I
Yep.
don't want to work with it. I don't want to work with it. I don't want to work with that. So,
All right, we're gonna move on to Bethany because she
Thank
has to
you.
leave to get her kiddos, and then Ashley and Maggie should also go next due to their work schedules. I want to make sure the ones can get chatting to get.
All right. I'll be quick, fast, in a hurry. So, one thing I found really interesting because you kind of planted that seed of as you're going through your week, like try to get yourself to like think a little bit more about this.
yeah,
I don't remember the scenario. I just remember the last 7 days have been probably the most stressful in a long time. And so I went into the book and I read about the 2s and what happens when they're under stress. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Because under stress, the 2s mimic the 8s, meaning we're controlling, we're bossy, you
yep.
do this, you do that. This
Yeah.
is the way it's going to be, and no one's going to change my mind. Instantly, I was like, now I know why I am the way I am. And I'm a really good manager of other people who are difficult. That is why I'm good at that, because I'm good at it in stressful moments. Like, I know exactly what you need to do, and I know how to get it out of you exactly the way it needs to be done. And if you step outside that boundaries, all right, now we're going to have a talk. Like, that is me across the board. And I mean, this week, even just this morning, like I had to be very stern with people. I've never met you, but you are sending me the wrong messages and you are not doing what I asked you to. Please resubmit this exactly as I'd instructed. Thank you. Have a great day. And I can do it professionally without being overbearing and being rude.
Yeah.
Like I've learned over the years how to not come off as a complete jerk, but there are times where you get met with a lot of people who have an attitude, and it's like, I understand why you have an attitude. I learned to understand that, but this is why it won't work. Like your attitude does not fit within my plan, which I'm trying to learn about how to find that balance though between being controlling and just understanding that I can't control everything. And so I have learned over the years definitely to just, if it didn't work the first time the way I instructed, all right, I'm going to let it pass, let it go and move on, because I can't keep putting my whole life on hold because you won't follow instructions. But I find it funny that you brought up the fact that there's no romantics. because in my first time I did it, I got helper and romantic. Or I did the test, I got helper and romantic, and I was like, okay, that's interesting, because in the book it says when a 2 is secure, they come off as a romantic. They're very overly emotional and happy. There's just a lot of this, in the feelings. And I'm like, oh my God, that's me too. It's so crazy because like when I'm secure, when I'm happy, when I'm not having to race around like I have the last 7 days, I'm like, hey, let's chill, let's relax, let's enjoy life, let it all roll off. If something does happen, it's not as stressful because I'm not buying into it. It's a split moment. I don't have to be stressed about it. But when there's like back-to-back stressors, oh yeah, I gotta put everything in its place. And so I had to laugh that you said there was no romantics, because I'm like, I generally see myself as a romantic in the sense of I'm like my dad. He's like, he boo-hoos at weddings. His side of the family is all very, very romantic and emotional, and just that's my dad's side of the family. And so I just thought that was funny, because I'm like, I think I understand now why I scored that, even though like I didn't agree with it immediately. I was like, yeah, now it makes sense. Like when I'm secure, I am. And I think when I took that first test, I was in my very secure mode. I was not stressed whatsoever. So
Hey,
that makes sense
interesting.
that I would have scored differently the first
Interesting.
time than the second time.
Yeah.
So even though it was probably like maybe only 2 hours apart, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. I was in a very different mindset at that point. So yeah.
The helper's
something
in
to
the head,
consider
right?
for
Or the
sure.
helper's in the heart. The helper and the romantic, they're in the heart.
Yep. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then the performer is in the head, because I want to display everything. And so quick short story and then I'm done. I was doing a lot of analyzing this week. When you're in a house with 3 children, life is chaos generally all the time. And there's messes everywhere, especially when they're really young. They don't know necessarily how to clean up after themselves. And I came to the realization that I live best when everything has its place, everything is neat and orderly, and I'm allowed one room or one spot where it can be chaos, and I will attack it as I need. Because like my apartment before my husband and I got married, every single room was pristine. Everything was put away at night. I couldn't go to sleep unless everything was put together, put away, even the fridge, everything had its spot. And I had one room though, it was my office. And unless I was using it, it was a wreck. Like I would just throw stuff in there so I didn't have to see it anymore. It was like a walk-in closet, except for it was a room. And it was just like, I would just chuck stuff in there if I didn't want to deal with it, just put it there. And that was my one place where there was no perfection, no even decorations. It was just stuff was thrown in piles, boxes, whatever, but I didn't have to deal with it. And I thrive that way. Even today, even with the chaos of my children and life in general, is I thrive the best when where I am, where I'm working and trying to focus, everything's nice and neat and in its place. And I have that one little spot that when I'm ready to attack it or deal with it, I'll deal with that mess. So that was just a observation I made, that my family was like, oh, now I know why you get upset when there's like food left on the table or a plate left out in the sink. Or I'm like, yeah, that bugs the mess out of me, because it's a performance. It's not how it should look all the time. So
Interesting.
yeah. All right. Maggie or Ashley, who is going?
Thanks, Bethany.
Thanks, Bethany.
Maggie, you can go. Do you have a meeting at all?
I do not.
Okay, I don't either.
Okay.
I mean, I can go if you. have
Doesn't
to.
matter.
You don't
You
need it.
can.
You can, Ashley.
You go.
Okay, great. Great. I'll go.
Okay.
Okay. So I was kind of looking, I was diving deep into more. I did look at the path to transformation. And then I also dove deep into sixes at work because I really wanted to determine how I can improve just in general in my working relationship, both in my at both in both of my careers, right?
Yeah.
So I was looking at this and I had like an aha moment. So it says that six employees will ask you a lot of questions going off of what you just kind of were explaining, Lisa. 6 employees will ask you a lot of questions, not because they're opposing you necessarily, but because they're trying to figure out what they're supposed to do and make sure someone has looked at the big picture. So going back to you talking about us like planning events, like, yeah, I'm going to ask 80,000 million questions because I want to look at the big picture and make sure that we're, are we moving forward with intent? Is our, like, are we going to be able to recruit at these events? Those types of things, like, are they going to bring more people in? Like all of those things I'm thinking of as I'm determining, how to move forward. And a lot of times I bring up things in in my daytime career, I bring up things in that other people don't think of. And if I'm not on meetings and other people don't think of them, down the road, they wish they thought of them, right? Like, oh, you didn't think of that. Yeah, if I was on the meeting, I would have thought of that, right? Those types of things, right?
Yeah.
Because they make their decisions based on the here and now and not on, the future, right? Which is constantly what I'm thinking about. The other aha moment or thought I had is, so it does say that sixes like to be alone, but then it also says that we need to feel safe. And I thought that kind of contradicted each other a little bit because I feel like I feel safe when I'm not alone, right? So when I hate being alone, and so that's just my thing. Like when Tony has to work at night, like I'm always thinking about, okay, and this is bad. I need to work on this, but I'm always thinking about is somebody gonna break into our house? Like those types of things. And so I have to like incorporate things into my life to make me feel more secure.
Mhm.
Right. And then going back to our assignment, because that was really not our assignment. Those were my aha moments. The path to transformation. So some of mine were a regular centering prayer or meditation practice, which I have incorporated like within the last couple of months at night, doing that before I go to bed. And I do it before I go to bed because then I feel more secure, especially if he's not here. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then another thing that I have always kind of done, which I think we should all do, because it says that in here, frankly, let's all do this. Limit your exposure to the 24-hour news cycle or to books and films that unnecessarily reinforce your anxious or pessimistic view of life. So I do not read books about crime and all of those things because that just fuels my anxiety, right? And I don't watch, like, I don't know, Dateline and all of that stuff because
Yeah.
I do not, that just fuels my anxiety. So I don't even turn it on. If it's on if Tony turns it on when he's home, because he likes to watch that stuff, it's very different. He likes to watch that stuff. I will go into a different room or I'll ask him to turn it off and he will do that. So that's just how I am. If I sit there and watch that, I will be up all night or I will be thinking about that for the next week. So yeah, those are things that I have implemented currently and still working on it, but yeah.
Good job, Ashley.
Yes. Really good. That's self-awareness. Also, one of your top 5 strengths is futuristic.
Yeah.
So that Bethany is coming on with 2 different, does she know that?
She's gonna go on her phone as she goes and gets her kid.
This one gets internet.
She's switching over.
Um,
Hi.
I like your awareness and that you were like, okay, what am I going to do to, what am I doing to foster that, to make sure that, by the way, totally random. There's a news source. I don't know, you people are smarter than me. You might have already known about it, called 1440. And I followed on Facebook, and it just gives like actual news, real, like, not since, well, a lot of stuff is sensational anyway, because it's news, but just like random stuff happening in the world. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that was interesting. Like, I will probably post some of the memes because it's just interesting. So it's not politically charged necessarily. It's just things that are going on in the world. Um, so I have found it to be like a way that I can learn about things without getting emotionally charged.
Mhm.
Because the enthusiasts like Dawn and I, we're enthusiasts. We're in our, are we in our heads or our hearts? I forgot. I forgot if we're in our heads or our hearts. I can't remember, but either way, a head or a heart can, we're not gut, we're head or heart. So either way, the news can affect us. Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually a really good example to use. You're kinder to Tony on how you tell him to turn the channel.
I might have made it kind, but something's like, turn this off. How do I hear about this?
I will literally go, no, 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 no.
Cancel, cancel, cancel.
I can still hear it. I can still hear it. I'm in the kid. I can still hear it.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh dear. All right, let's hear from Megs.
Okay, so here are some interesting aha moments from the past week. First of all, Lisa, I have noticed that every text message you send me, you end with "love you." And I think you're doing that on purpose. So just letting you know it has been noticed. So anyhow, so it's really funny. So I, after reading this, I was like, okay, so one of the things that a two really desires is to be loved. And it was really not sitting well with me last week at all, because I was like, I'm good. I don't need that validation. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, this is fine, blah, blah, blah. Right. So, so then I'm getting all these text messages. And I think I got like 4 or 5 from you last week, and they all ended with "love you." And I was like, all right. Well, clearly this is really bothering me, which means that this is really a problem. So we need to look at this and re-examine this just slightly. So, anyhow, long story short, I too, like Bethany, have had an interesting week, and it's all been fine. But I was particularly having kind of a rough day last week, Thursday, and I had lunch with a couple of my very dear friends here at work, and I looked at them and I said, "Okay, I need 5 minutes because I've had a really rough day. Can you just tell me everything you love about me in 5 minutes? Just do it. Just like name 3 things. Just please just do it." I needed to like test this theory. Okay, so like they did whatever and it was fine. And I was like, "Was that weird for you?" And they're like, "No, but you look totally different than you did when we first got here." And I was like, okay. So then I was like, well, so here's what I realized. Okay, 2 things. First of all, I don't necessarily need other people to tell me that, but I had, after that happened, I needed to re-examine what was in my head, because I clearly somehow was judging myself for whatever this situation was. And so I was like, it really doesn't matter what other, if other people love me. I mean, it's great, whatever. We all want to be loved, right? Like, that's fine. But like, I was like, it really matters what I think. Like, I was just, I was having a little bit of a come apart because I was feeling a little inadequate. And we all go through those things too. Okay. So I'm being real here. Okay. I don't normally say I'm inadequate because, performer's my wing, and we're perfect in how everything happens outside of here. Okay. So, Bethany's laughing at me like I was laughing at her because I think she's totally like agreeing with everything I'm saying. Okay.
I
So
was watching your faces as you two are talking. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go.
so anyhow, so after Thursday, now I've been doing an affirmation every single day, and it's super simple. It's just I am loved. Like anytime I start to feel like funny or weird or frustrated or whatever, I just remind myself. And if that's not enough, then I say that God loves me. And that to me has been enough to like stop some of those thoughts, those intrusive thoughts that sometimes happen. And so like it's really funny because I guess I would just challenge everybody. If you've read something in there that you're like, that's not me, that doesn't sit well, I don't know, that's weird, blah, 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 maybe re-examine it because that was really bothering me because I was like, I don't need to be told I'm loved all the time and I don't need any of that, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, well, maybe I need to re-examine this a little bit more. So anyhow, long story short, I still don't feel like I need everyone else to tell me that they love me. So don't y'all start going and texting me that you love me, okay? Thank you very much. But it does matter what you're saying to yourself. So just that was my aha moment of the week. And Lisa's been sending, so maybe she's also sending all of you different send-offs when she texts you. Just a heads up.
Can I comment? So Maggie and I were together on 9/11 20, how many years ago? 3? When was 9/11? 23 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Maggie, I get very emotional about Maggie around that time, which is also around her birthday, which is also, or not her birthday, Mary Kay's anniversary. So I get very like, because Maggie knows that she represented our whole Mary Kay family that day. Because there was a sales director meeting in the morning and all the directors were together, McCoy area sales directors, and we didn't want to leave the room because we felt so connected and so loved, and we didn't really know what was going on in the world. Because our meeting started at like 8:30 in the morning when the first tower was hit. And then the second tower was hit and our meeting started. And you don't know what's going on in the world. So you're just doing your meeting. No one knows what's going on. You're wondering why these planes are crashing. You're not thinking terrorism. So we have our meeting, and then Judy's like, I just want to stay in here. And everyone wanted to stay in and just not learn anything else. And we're like, well, we can't do that. So as we're learning more things, I met Maggie in the parking lot for whatever we were meeting for. I don't even remember. And we're like just hugging and loving and hugging and loving. And Maggie knows that for that moment in time, she represented every single one of us. And we were so blessed, you guys, still. Courage Nation family was not directly impacted with any family or close friends at that time. We've grown a lot since, so now there might be. But at that moment in time, Courage Nation family did not lose any friends or family. And so Maggie and I think of each other every year on 9/11. Sometimes we don't even talk. Sometimes it's just a couple of emojis. Sometimes it's conversation, whatever. Always 23 years. And yes. And then also my compassion is oozing out of me, right? It's oozing. So that I'm like, love you, May, love you, love you. Anything you're telling me right now, I love you, I love you, I love you. And so, but it's interesting. So if we weren't in this, we wouldn't know this right now, that I was feeling particularly emotions on top of everything. Terry and I went to church yesterday, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get through. I'm like, I hear a baby cry, and it was a baptism. I'm like, oh, I always cry at baptisms. I'm like, babies for Jesus. Oh, look at them, look at how they're dressed. Yeah. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? So
nothing is wrong with you.
Yes, correct. Just a lot. Like, oh, geez, it's just like all right here. I'm not used to that. So then Maggie's getting everything she's getting, and I'm like, extra. I'm like, all of you, everything I'm talking to you is just extra. I gave you extra, extra, extra. And I'm like, good God, this compassion thing in my body is just, it's going to wear me out. So I got to put compassion where it's in its proper place. I need it. I got to put it in its proper place because I just went from concerned to consumed. And then that's tiring.
Yeah.
Right? Super tiring. So had a little check myself. So church was good yesterday. That kind of straightened me back up. To be compassionately bold, Kim Ferguson gave me that 3 years ago at the retreat. And I like cherish it and I walk around with it because I'm like, I like that. But I like the bold part of it because I could be compassionate with somebody, but not both of us sit in a corner and cry and never come out.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want your leader sitting there crying with you and never come. And then we both just fall on the floor and cry. And then we both are down there now. That's not what you desire from a leader, to cry with you. And then she's going to be like, let's do it. Here we go. Right? Well, I didn't have any of that. But you guys were it for me. So anything you were talking about, anything, your goals for E2E, the stuff you guys were doing, checking in, doing all the stuff. Plus, I was also really sick. Okay, I was also like freaking you guys really sick last week. And I'm like, what is happening? Come on. And Cece's like, oh, mom, remember, big emotions. When you let out big emotions, then sometimes you get sick. Stop telling me things I've taught you. Stop it. Ah, jeez.
We may be different types, but that does not mean we're very different.
Fact, yes. So I'm like, oh, well, thank God I work for myself. Let me just go back and lay on that couch.
Yeah.
And I thought, geez, how many times in the last 4 years I would have been fired, easily fired. None of your companies. If I worked for any of your companies, I'd have been fired. And you'd have been like, oh, Lisa, she's so nice, but you know, she's not reliable. Who knows where that woman's going to be? She's trying to go on vacation all the time. And now she got sick and, oh, geez, she lost her dog. So now she can't function. Yeah. Truth. All truth. Oh, and now she wants to babysit the dogs across the street. What's wrong with that woman? That's what all of you would be saying.
Now she's a crazy dog lady.
Yeah. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. The helper's like, no, we would not say that. Okay.
Somebody else might think it, but I wouldn't think it or say it because I'm also an enthusiast.
I wouldn't even think it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't know. I'm making that up. See, there's
Yeah.
my limiting something or another, right? My inner critic or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's probably someone who doesn't even like me that would have thought that. And I don't care what people don't like me think. It's too bad for them. They're missing out.
Yep.
So because of that we're doing this, so Maggie, now you know a little extra about why I was sending extra. And I am like super aware. So I'm like, what's the little extra thing I can say right now?
Well, it was needed and appreciated, apparently. Well, I was kind of ticked about it at first, but then after a while, I was better.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting, you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, doesn't the helper want that?
Yes, but the performer doesn't want to think that they can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, yes, absolutely. Do I want to be loved? Yes. Do I want to think that I need to be loved? No.
Interesting.
Well, and I'll add to that, like I remember always growing up, and anytime someone got like lovey with me, it wasn't that I didn't want it. I just got super uncomfortable because I thought I was doing something wrong. And they felt like they needed to give me that little boost.
Oh.
But now
Oh.
I've learned to embrace it. Like I'm a very big huggy person, and like I've embraced that portion of me because, you know, I actually enjoy being noticed, or when someone says you did a really great job. I love that compliment. Now I still occasionally go, wait, what did I do wrong? Why are you being nice? But yeah, yeah, what's happening?
And I'm better in private with love than I am in public. So like I'm better with that part. Like, yes, I want to be loved, but I don't necessarily want the entire world to know that either. So it's, I don't know. I'm complicated. We're all complicated.
You're not. It's awesome. You're self-aware, and this is great. And this is why people should never quit Mary Kay, because you get all these tools, and then your sales director knows how to work with you better, and also exactly who to pull up and what who should say and whatever on Monday nights. And I give you the 3 questions to say, and you either remember them or you don't, or you pull out the exact thing from the thing you wanted to say. And I'm like, they know what they want to say. They know how they want to answer that. I'm not changing it. Say what you want to say. And when someone quits too soon, we didn't get that out of them. We didn't get to learn all these valuable tools that they can use and that we can use to help become better people, best versions of ourselves. Nothing wrong with us. I mean, to become best versions of ourselves. Rockstar, let's hear from you.
Well, let's not hear from Rockstar. Rockstar did not do a whole lot of in-depth into this book. She was into another book, but like I said before, I can pick out the different where they kind of fall, not necessarily exactly what they are. And I catch myself either giving myself permission, yep, I'm gonna go forward, or to just, it's not really worth it. But I do that, I feel like I've done that a lot more lately. And back when you were talking about getting grounded in compassion and feeling, I feel like the last 3.5 months I've been kind of like stuck there. And the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks and stuff is where I'm emerging back out of that mess. And that is what I think of it. It is a mess. And I am much more confident in who I am and what I'm going to do and where I'm going. And so it's all aligning in that aspect and using it and getting better at asking questions to my husband instead of point blank saying, you are so wrong. Let's not do that. But so that's been a little bit helpful. So in that aspect, it's been really great. It's kind of like a lot of the different things have all aligned. And I was at a conference this last weekend, and it was fun to see the different, you can pick out the different ones that, oh yeah, they like to be in the front of this room, or, oh, these are really hiding people, it's like, it's okay, come on out. And so that aspect has been really fun and learning.
Awesome.
I love the word
Awesome.
merge. You said merge.
Emerge.
Yes,
Love
definitely.
it.
Okay. Here's where, okay. Here's
Can
where
we
we're
hear from
closing.
Cece?
Oh,
She hasn't gone yet.
yes.
He always wants to go, Mom.
Go,
Oh.
Cece. I'm sorry. I knew you talked. I didn't realize you hadn't talked about that. Go.
That's great. Okay, so really, really briefly, so I did my last big project for the wedding, which was our seating chart, and it's a giant window. It's a 16 pane window. It's like 50 inches by 50 inches. It's huge, and I hand wrote the tables and everyone's names. So I knew that was going to take some time. I had to physically clean up the window too, and I realized in the entire process, I only erased and redid a couple of things. And I got to the point where I realized I was going to have to begin spacing things a certain way on each pane to fit this number of names, etc. And I realized by the end of it, not only was my spacing better, but the handwriting was a little inconsistent. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, you could erase and do the whole thing again, or you actually just really enjoyed doing this. You cleaned it up. It's not perfect. It's a rundown old window. That's the vibe, right? People are going to walk by this, look for their name, and walk away. This doesn't even have to be photographed. Like, release. So there was a couple things I did redo, but I allowed myself to redo them, knowing that, okay, you can redo this one time and get it more straight if that excites you, and then you need to move on. So I was like so disciplined with myself in going through that, which is interesting because discipline is one of my top 5 strengths. So I was very disciplined in like doing that task completely and well. without getting too hung up. And I'm also art. I'm an artist, so it's difficult for me to look at that and not want it to be perfect. So very interesting, creative, but also perfection mind there with these two. Yeah, so I was really proud of myself the way I got that done and just released it, and it's done and it's beautiful. And people are gonna go, and then I thought people are gonna say, you wrote that? Like, wow, who'd you hire? And I'm gonna say, I did that. Right. So, you know, my expectations are always real high and other people's are much lower. So that works great.
Because most people can't do what you just did.
Which I realize humbly.
Remember your mother sat and tried for a year to learn how to write like that? Yeah. I found something I'm not good at.
And you didn't need to be.
Bravo for how you handled that. Bravo. Cece's coming over tomorrow. We literally have like just this picture thing to put on Google, and it's also not a big deal. Like, I'm like, well, there's nothing else to do. We're so, yes. So this is also perfectly timed. So perfectly timed that we're doing this around the wedding time too. It's all coming together, everybody. It's all coming together. So what I would love for you guys to do for next week, let's look at the security part. Stress and security. I want you to focus on the security part of your number. When you feel secure, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What are you doing? What are you not doing? When I don't feel secure, or when I'm in the basement or the unhealthy version of me, way too much time on the couch. Here's what's interesting. I am married to an investigator who has to conserve energy, because if something comes up that he needs to do, he has to conserve energy for it. In the basement of that is also, I don't want to do anything and I don't want to get off the couch. Okay. We've worked on that a lot with him in the last few years. So if he comes home from work and he's literally exhausted and he gets on the couch and I am in my unhealthy version of me, which is going to sit on the couch and do nothing, and I am sitting with my husband who is delighting in sitting there doing nothing, he cannot even help me. He cannot even recognize she's not doing well right now. He's just noticing I'm sitting by him on the couch, rubbing his arm or whatever, saying what we should find on TV. There is no part of him that's going, this is too much TV for her. Or, I wonder how long she wants to sit here. Or, there's no part of him that will think it, wonder it, ever. Now, also, to be clear, he's not studying an Enneagram book. He's not having conversations like we are all day, right? He's also a man. There's levels, and I mean no disrespect towards him. It is not going to be in his mind at all to think, wonder why she's sitting here. Also, this much of him is afraid of me. He's never going to ask me why I'm sitting. And he'll, right? Okay. So I would love for you, coming back, security. Okay. When you are secure, when you're feeling safe, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Notice it. And if you weren't in it, if you were in stress, how did you get back to security? Okay. Okay. I'm
Great.
done.
Right
Okay.
on time.
You guys are awesome. I'm just
Hi, Frankie. All right, y'all. We'll see you on ED.
Bye. Love you guys. Thank you.
See you later, ladies. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.